And Matthew.
And Ty.
And Crystal.
And we are the Bing Zang Zoom podcast.
What do we got going on?
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about is, and we'll get back to yours in a second, but one of the things I want to talk about today is some stuff that men do differently than women, right? And I couldn't do that and not have a woman here to represent the ladies, okay? You know, we can jump in and try to say what we want about stuff, but it's not going to hit as strong as actually having Crystal here with us today. All right.
I'm here.
And Ty's about to get in.
So I think I speak for all men over here. We all sit down and pee, right? That's everything we do? Or is that just a me thing?
I'm gonna go ahead and give that to all you.
Okay.
I stand all day. I need a rest now and then.
That's what I'm saying, man. I stand with kids all day, man. It feels good to sit down and piss every once in a while.
All right. Well, time out. Are you one of the type of people, and it might get a little bit crazy in a second, but we're gonna try to prevent that. But are you one of the people that, like, are you peeing and then pooping, like, separate, or is
Really
that all
depends on the
happening at the same
mood.
time?
If Wingstop was factored in, then it's a bit of both.
All right. All right, Matthew.
I don't even know how to answer. I don't even know how to approach that question.
Well, some people, what it is some people will, like, let's say this is in public. They'll go to the urinal, they'll pee, and then they'll go and they'll poop, right? Or is this just all happening in combination?
That's a waste of time.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, unless you really have to do both, and the stall is taken, and you're just like, well, I got to get one out.
Hey, guess what? Both going in that urinal.
It might be that it's number one and number two. People just have these things designated. So
sometimes it's number 3 and number 4. You know,
yeah.
You never know.
Which is throw up and earwax, just so you guys know.
Wow.
I was just shooting in the dark on that one.
Yeah, I didn't know where that.
I had no idea where that one was gonna go.
Well, for one thing, right? One thing that I know is at least different in my circumstance. With me and my wife, right? Waking up in the morning, right? If I wake up first, I'm very quiet. I'm tiptoeing around the house. You know, I open the fridge like a ninja. Everything, right? If she gets up first, the entire world is about to wake up.
I can
ask me
second that.
Everything.
Like I'm like it's late at night and I'm trying to get a snack, and then like you microwave something and then you stop it like right when it hits 1. That way the eat doesn't go off. I don't want to wake up my wife that way because I know she'll come storming down the stairs. What the fuck are you doing? Like, like, look, leave me alone. I got my own personal life, man. Like, I live my life. But then when she comes, she'll wake up both kids. Getting up in the morning at 4:00 in the morning, like, and it's just, I don't know, it's crazy. I love my wife. Don't get me wrong. I love my wife.
Yeah, same here. Shout out.
Double flying jump
I think
kick
it's
you
funny.
out of the bed.
I'm scared she's watching me right now, actually. Where is she?
Oh, yeah. She's behind you. Don't worry.
She's going to take this clip, because this is going on the internet. She's going to take that clip and just
she's like, oh, so this is what you said about me, huh?
Carefully. You're going to hear about this in 6 months. But what do you think, Crystal? What do you think? Do you wake up calmly and quietly, or does the entire house have to get woken up when you wake up?
I try not to wake everyone else up. My 5-year-old.
Yeah.
My 5-month-old, I try to keep him sleeping.
Oh.
You know, so I'm tiptoeing. The bed's squeaking, so I have to quietly get out the bed. It's crazy.
Yeah.
When he's asleep, I try to play the white noises. It works sometimes.
Does that work for you and him?
Sometimes me too. If it's a lot going on, it blocks out everything for me too.
Yeah. Do y'all sleep with the TVs on and stuff?
No, I like it to be pitch black.
What about y'all?
Just the fan.
Oh, the fan. Oh my goodness. I'll come back to that. Do y'all sleep with Matthew and you and Ty sleep with?
Yeah, I've got a little fan too. I need to have a little bit of noise. But I mean, and you know this about me, T, but I have terrible insomnia, so I sleep, I don't fall asleep until like 8 in the morning, and then we'll sleep till, noon. So.
What about you, Ty?
Oh, it's got to be the TV and the fan blasting for me and my wife.
Okay.
For me and my wife, like we share that in common when we go to bed. Like we don't need the TV blast; we just need TV on. Yeah. Like it could be whatever. Like it could. You ever like get to the late night section of like Comedy Central and you see the Girls Gone Wild? Like we keep that on mute in the background.
I just want a story where his kids come into the bedroom in the middle. Daddy, I had a bad dream.
What's this? It made it all better, or completely worse.
Yeah. No, I was thinking the second one, but you know what? Maybe it made it all better. I'm not gonna judge.
Right. It depends on the other factors, but. So going back to the fan though, Ty, you said that you like the fan to be blasting, right?
Oh yeah, it's gotta be cold as hell.
Is the AC? Oh, okay, all right. Well, then fair enough.
AC's on too.
You need both.
Okay, yeah. This the first time I'm sitting here freezing all the time. My wife has the AC on, the fan on. We got the overhead fan on, then the box fan on, and the AC on, and I'm sitting in
the way.
Oh, that's the way.
You also have like 3% body fat. So
a little higher, but still, man, like I'm freezing out here. But yes, this is true. That's true.
I'm like hot most of the time. So the fan
is usually you are
running. I know. But but the fan, like, I just don't. My wife always gets on me because she's just like, "Why do you like always need AC on?" I'm like, "I'm just naturally like hot. Like I'm sweating 90% of the time for no reason." Like, it's like 70 degrees, I'm sweating. It's 69 degrees, I'm freezing, and I don't know how to adjust that in my house. Like, there's no 69.5 to go to on the thermostat.
We got a surprise guest, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Troy came in the building, and Rhea, so we got 2 surprise guests.
Oh, okay.
We call that a walkthrough. Man? Yeah. I'm actually outside right now. Y'all can't see it. I'm outside. Oh man, yeah. I don't do that. Sometimes I end up
natural landscape I've ever seen.
Thank you. Most of the time, like I'll have a hoodie on or something like that. Usually zip up, so it's easy off because I'm gonna get hot in the middle of the night. Probably wake up 5 a.m. Take it off. Moving right along. So, did y'all hear about the space launch, SpaceX launch?
Yes, sir.
It's like those memes. A good choice to leave right now.
Oh yeah, Earth is a spicy place to be at the moment. Elon Musk. I saw an interview on the Joe Rogan podcast for Elon Musk, and he definitely is different, man. Like Joe Rogan, he was smoking on his podcast, and it was a blunt mixed with weed and tobacco. And he asked Elon Musk if he smokes, and he was like, "No, I don't really much like it. Like it doesn't do anything for me." He's like, "Oh yeah." So he gave it to him. He smoked it. He's like, handed it back to him, and then like continued on in his way. I'm like, "Yo," he's like, "Yeah, it just doesn't do anything for me the way that it does for other people, because his mind," he said, is moving like 1,000 miles per minute, like." And he said that, Joe Rogan said, "Well, it must be great to be you, man. Like, you think all these innovative things." And Elon's like, "No, it's not. it's not great to be me. You probably wouldn't want to be me with all the thoughts that are running through my mind at all times, and it's hard to turn it off. I'm like, man, you got to get this guy an entire tree. And he said he doesn't drink much, he doesn't smoke much. What can really turn it off? Does he need some white noise, Crystal? Elon Musk.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It has always helped though.
Yeah. You know, I guess that's the downside to being that smart. Like this is the first non-NASA like independent launch into space.
I mean, he could also just be around like jet fuel all the time that he's getting high off that, and he doesn't need to get drunk or weed. Like he's probably been around them fumes for so damn long.
He said it doesn't do anything compared to jet fuel.
Like jet fuel, that's where it's at, bud. Like get a huff of that stuff. I'm sure you'll be on your ass.
Elon Musk.
I mean, it is interesting though, that this is the first, like you said, independent, non commercial, non NASA, whatever you want to say, launch to space. Do you guys think that within our lifetime, which people are living longer and longer nowadays, so who knows how long that'll be, but within our lifetime that there will be like shuttles, like you can go to space without having to pay $40 million, like the same way we could take a flight.
You talking about just like in our atmosphere, kind of like right outside orbiting Earth, or are you talking about like to the moon and back kind of situation?
Either or.
Because I feel like for like commercial flights like that, like just casual launches to the moon and Mars and all that, we ain't seeing that our lifetime. Like we'll start to see maybe a glimpse of it. It's just we are barely able to get men to Mars right now, and we haven't even really returned with a manned mission to the moon right now. So for us to start really getting stable, which technology is constantly changing, so I could be wrong, but I just don't see it getting to that point within our lifetime at all. It's just we're having problems doing it now. Like we having problems throwing probes up there right now. So within our lifetime, I think nah.
Well, there were a lot of people who thought that like the moon landing was fake and stuff like that, and so having a second opinion or having somebody actually go and do this independently is interesting as well. Just to even see if it was possible to get up there, and because we only had one source of this information before. Now there's multiple sources, or at least from the United States. So, yeah, man, I think that I'm with Ty on that. I think that maybe when we're reincarnated, we'll be able to see some interesting things. But we've seen a lot of interesting things as it is just in our lifetime. And things only move faster and faster. Like it would have taken like 50 years to see and experience some of the things that we've experienced in our like 20 and 30. So
yeah, there's been a major technology boom in the last 20, 30 years, like you said. Yeah. It's very interesting to look at, say, how far cell phones have come. Originally cell phones were this gigantic thing, barely worked, and stuff, and then now we're doing what we're doing right now.
Right, yeah.
And it's funny too, because a lot of people thought, like looking back at old sci-fi movies from the 50s and stuff, flying cars, all this stuff that people thought were going to exist that still sort of do, but really don't. But then we have all these things like who predicted iPads, who predicted 4K televisions, all this stuff, video games, these weren't things that were really talked about.
So. Right. All this seems like every time, like even with the flip phone, like the flip phone and watches you can speak to, like this is all stuff that I saw in Star Trek. And interestingly enough, my dad always used to say, hey, look, pay close attention to Star Trek, because they're going to try to make that, if they don't already have it, they're going to try to make those things a possibility. And now look, Space Force, y'all joining up, live long and prosper. I want to be Spock.
I actually do have a friend that works for Space Force.
What? Like the
Yeah,
TV
yeah.
show?
No, no. You would think, right? You would think if I was saying that. No, no. It's a guy I used to do kung fu with. He lives over in Los Angeles now, and
Yeah.
he actually works for Space Force, the real thing.
Oh snap! Oh
Yeah.
well, let tell him to let us know if an asteroid decides to start making its way this way, because I'm gonna go ahead and holler at Elon, tell him, hey man, I can definitely get you baked. I can get you to sleep. Don't even worry about it. Just get me out of
I
here.
got a pound of jet fuel in the back.
Right, right. Look, man. Keep it down. You keep it down. Hold me down. I'll hold you down. But what about?
Whoa, whoa! This took a turn.
Wow. uh, Not like that. But what about like extraterrestrial life? Like, do you think that we'll within this time see something like ET or have some
Absolutely
type of
not.
confirmation?
I think they exist, but there is no way. So why we? So I don't exactly remember what the scale is, but there's a scale to where humans like rank up, and that pretty much tells you like, oh, one's being able to do interstellar travel, one's being able to manipulate black matter, one's being able, pretty much use. The first one's like being able to use all the resources on Earth without actually depleting them fully. And we're not even at level 1 yet. We're at level 0. So there would be no reason for,
Dang.
if there were aliens to be out there, there'd be no reason for them to even come by us if they even
Right.
had any interest, because there's nothing we could offer them that they, unless if they wanted to totally just take on, our planet or something, but
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we go to the moon when there's really nothing there for us, or the same way that we study, I
Insects.
don't know, insects or whatever. It could be for like I said, like insects. It could be like, oh, we're gonna go to the zoo. Let's see what they're up to. If
Right.
their technology is that far advanced that they can just make these quick trips, why not for studying reasons? And that's an interesting thing too, is we don't really know, if there is life on other planets, which of course I believe there is too. Are they more technologically advanced? Are they less technologically advanced? Maybe there are other aliens, but we're the most advanced.
or maybe they went
Doubtful.
extinct, like who
Yeah.
knows? Because getting to one side of the, galaxy or one side of the universe, even if you were going light speed, light speed really isn't as fast as what everybody thinks it is.
Yeah.
It's fast, don't get me wrong, but it's not nowhere near what like movies depict it to be as, So if someone was traveling from one end of the universe to get to us, it's going to be a while,
So you
so
know that there's crazy things. Like for example, there's a planet that rains glass. Like there's a planet that is made completely of diamond. Like imagine if we can get a rocket there. Like forget about blood diamonds. You go up into space and just start cracking away at a planet. Come back like, yeah, I went to space for this. This right here, this piece, $1 million. Like that, easy.
you would need the problem with that, like, because technically I think it's Uranus. It's either Uranus or Saturn, or I think it's Uranus or Jupiter. Their core is actually a diamond core, but everything else is like just this gaseous stuff. And the reason for it is it's the pressure. So
Yeah.
the pressure's so intense there, like you would have to have a suit that'd be able to handle that, like because our spacesuits now, if you were to even like touch like the clouds with that, like you would be crushed into a pancake pretty much. Like it's just it rains methane, meaning methane's a gas here.
Oh
So
yeah.
to rain methane, it would be that cold for it to liquidize, and then you have the pressure on top of that would just. But if you could find something like an asteroid or something like that that's carrying, because asteroids and meteors are always filled with different types of minerals and stuff like that help create Earth and the Moon. And there's maybe even some other stuff out there that, we've probably never seen before. That's what I would do. That asteroid belt, I guarantee you that would be where we would go, where we would need to go for resources in the near future.
Let me ask you this, Ty. Let me ask you this, Ty. So we've talked about, aliens and other planets and stuff like that, but there's a lot of things on Earth that, people talk, like the depths of the ocean, we haven't nearly explored, a fraction of it. And there are things like, Bigfoot that people are like, oh no, it doesn't exist, but we're discovering new creatures all the time, right?
Right.
So do you think there's a possibility that there are elements, chemicals, or even things like, hypothetically speaking, that we consider mystical or fake, that it's like, well, no, they exist, they're just based in science. It's vampires are real, they just have a disease that's really, really rare or something.
I think it's possible that we obviously could have missed something, like you said, with the ocean being how it is. Like I think only discovered like 5% or some crazy number like that. Very, very small. We have barely even seen what's in there. I think that would be the place to look. But as far as like what, in my opinion, like I think we really, if we were to want to look for new minerals or new elements or whatever the case may be, honestly, space is probably going to be the best place to look. It is a big empty place, but we've barely seen what Mars looks like just through photographs. So my thing is, I think we'll see a little bit more of that once we actually get men on Mars. So, but as far as Earth goes, there's a possibility with the ocean, but not really. I wouldn't say really as far as much anymore, just because our basic elements and minerals have been, shown to us. Carbon,
It'd be crazy if something was added.
Yeah, like it would be. It would take a lot for them to add something new to it, to like the element table. But as far as minerals go, I mean, it's totally a possibility because we had throughout the birth of the Earth just millions upon millions of asteroids and comets just constantly strike our Earth. So there totally could be something even deeper than we've gone before. And deeper into the Earth's crust that we just haven't found yet. So,
well, we did have things added to that list actually. To the table, I forget the lady's name, so forgive me for this, but she is the one that found the additions to the periodic table, but she was exposed to so much radiation whilst trying to prove that it existed that she passed away from it. She pretty much lived her life to a degree, but that's why she died, is because of that. Now, I have a question for Crystal. Crystal, and one, it's in the name, and number two, would you take somebody who flew outer space, went to that diamond planet, was able to chip away a piece, brought it back down to Earth, and was like, will you marry me? Would you take them, Crystal? I guess that's a no.
See, what did you say?
No, I said if somebody went to the planet that's made out of diamond, right? And they got a piece of it, and they brought it down, and they were like, will you marry me, with a piece of diamond from a planet from outer space? They went all the way out there and did it, and they came back down and like, will you marry me? Is that a go, or is that a no?
Do I know them?
No.
Nah, nope, it's complete stranger. You've never met this person in your life.
No.
It's Elon Musk. It's Elon Musk. No. Elon Musk come back with a diamond and says, will you marry me? A diamond from a diamond planet.
Hold out.
That's a heavy no? All right. I guess he ain't getting no sleep no time soon, and I guess
I'll say yes.
Oh, damn.
I'm easily bought. So.
Well, in other news, in UFC news, UFC President Dana White uh, has officially announced the person who he thinks is the GOAT.
Wait. Dana White, like from Wheel of Fortune, runs the UFC.
Apparently.
Who knew?
Yeah, hey, he wears multiple hats. But
You learn something every day.
So can you guess who he said was the greatest of all time in the UFC?
The Rock.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee.
Neither of those are correct, but I do like the pants though. Matthews got on the Bruce Lee pants. No, it's John Jones. He said John Jones is the greatest of all time because
The Martian Manhunter?
Oh man, Matthews got Matthews endless with these. Apparently, he is a Martian. He might be from outer space. Elon Musk might have pulled him to Earth and told him
It
to
just
fight.
loops it all back around. It just all comes back around.
No wonder he's the greatest. He's the most advanced. But he's the only fight that he lost was one where he got disqualified for illegal 12-6 elbows on Matt Hamill while he was down. Matt Hamill is a fighter who, shout out to him, he's a deaf fighter and pretty decent, but that's the only loss that he's ever had. Aside from that, John Jones has won all of his fights, which basically means that he's undefeated without that technical disqualification. So now he's trying to fight in heavyweight. He wants to fight Francis Ngannou. And I think that's an easy fight for John Jones, to be honest. As long as he's able to, duck and dodge Ngannou's power, I think that John Jones will wash Ngannou. And, he's trying to get the biggest fight purse for this fight that he could possibly get, because it's a super fight. Technically, you got somebody coming from 205, the light heavyweight division, going to fight somebody at Ngannou's 265. But John Jones will probably come in at like 230 because that's what he walks around at. But it's still seems like a relatively easy fight as long as he stays away from that power. Seems like an easy fight for John Jones, which I understand why Dana doesn't want to negotiate, especially during the times, a higher fight purse. They're already struggling as it is, and John Jones is like, well, I'm going to vacate the belt. I'm like, that's not good. If anything, hold the belt hostage. Why vacate the title if you don't get the money that you want for the super fight? I understand it's a super fight, and I do think that needs to be taken into consideration. But I also think it's like, come on, John Jones, have a little. These are the people that hold you down. No other organization as big as it's the UFC.
What styles does John Jones use?
He's good with his takedown defense. I think mainly Muay Thai. His wrestling's pretty good, and he's got pretty good reach. But I think Muay Thai is his go-to.
It's because it's interesting to me. We've talked about it a little bit on the show, but we definitely talked about it more in person. Is that if you look at the UFC, it's kind of become Muay Thai standing up and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on the ground, which are both great styles. Not knocking either one of them at all, but it seems like since everybody's kind of doing those same two styles, and that's what almost all of mixed martial arts is becoming, that most of the GOATs are people who do other styles. Like you look at Conor McGregor, he does not Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he does boxing and wrestling. You look at Ronda Rousey, she was a judo champ. You look at Anderson Silva, he does a little bit of Wing Chun, and I think he has some karate background too. That the people who are kind of dominating seem to use a little bit, if not a lot, of other styles as opposed to just those main two. So it's interesting that he's using a lot of Muay Thai. I don't know.
Yeah, people will get so used to a specific set of strikes and specific set of combinations that it's like, okay, I know what's coming next, and then they can easily counter when you've seen something before. That was the issue, to be honest, with boxing for a little while there, is that the fundamentals of boxing were becoming so broadly known that it was like, okay, left, right. He's orthodox left, right. He's unorthodox right, left. You have an idea as to what's coming, and it might be left, right hook, and after the hook, they just twisted their body to a point where if you can dodge that hook, you can clean their clock, and so certain things like that, it makes it a little bit easier. But now because the focus is on these other things, if you study that and I think you still have to know a bit about it. So that's the thing. You still have to know jujitsu, otherwise you're gonna get cleaned up. You still have to know Muay Thai, otherwise you're gonna get cleaned up. But you just find things to work around it that work best for you. My thing shout out to Gustavo Machado. Their approach is do what works best for you and try to fit it within the realm of what it is that you're doing in terms of the Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, because that's what works. If you were a natural born wrestler and wrestling is what helps you to get into certain positions, don't try to box a guy down and then get him in his position Jiu-Jitsu hold. Wrestle him down and then do what you got to do. If you're a boxer and you're better with the stand up, then they're gonna dodge your hands, and then that's when you can go in for the kill in other ways. Look at Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell made a killing off of his wrestling pedigree. He has a good ability to wrestle and wasn't really known for getting taken down. So people didn't want to come in and try to take him down because he could wrestle them. And so he used that as a means to keep them standing, and that's where he was confident because he has the ability to knock people out backing up.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago in the scheme of things. I mean, the very beginning of UFC, when the first couple UFCs that happened, it was just, people who did whatever style all coming in and fighting. Then as time it developed more into the MMA that we know nowadays. But it wasn't that long ago in the scheme of things that people were like, oh, grappling, that would never work. Only striking would work, until you had some jiu-jitsu guys come in and just blow everything away, right? And then nowadays it's like it's all jiu-jitsu and it's all Muay Thai. And like I said, it's interesting that most of the people who kind of dominate are the people that kind of get away from that a little bit. But this guy, who's said to be number one, seems to use those two styles. I don't know, just a lot to,
and it seems like he does a little bit of like the 52 blocks, a little bit, just things to distract it. When you mesh it all together well, and it works for you and your style and your length and everything like that, he just has the best combination out of anybody. Sometimes people like boxing might not be the best thing for somebody that doesn't have the ability to keep up with a certain pace. They might be better off just throwing everything into a strike like Muay Thai, whereas boxing, you might throw like at 20%. You just want to touch him. The goal is to touch
your jab, right?
Yeah. It's not necessarily like you're trying to knock their teeth out. You just want to touch them, and then once you touch them, you can come with that heavier other hand. But yeah, man, it's interesting, definitely interesting. Staying with the sports world for a second, WWE has released a free version of the WWE Network. So if you want to see Raw, SmackDown, certain WWE shows, and you haven't really had access to it, WWE Network, or at least a version of it, is now free. So go ahead and check that out when you get a chance.
Didn't we have a poll up about WWE on the website?
We did. We had the New Day versus the Nation of Domination poll, and which the New Day won convincingly. And most recently, we went into a poll about what brand of TVs was the best. And so, from what I saw, Samsung took the cake on that one. But how do y'all feel? What brand of TV is the best to you?
Samsung QLED definitely takes the cake, because the Samsung QLED series, as much as I love LG's OLED and the Sony Bravias, now if you can get your hands on a Sony Bravia OLED, those things are bomb. but the Samsung QLED series introduces a high motion rate alongside higher refresh rate. So you're getting easily at least 120 frames per second on that TV alongside 4K. It's a lot smoother, more reliable LED background. So you're going to get something that lasts you for quite a while.
Yeah, that's the best thing to pay for. I mean, put your money into something you don't want it dropping on you or expiring on you too soon.
More app support on Samsung than anything.
Now,
that's the only TV in my house that I've been able to get HBO Max on, because that just dropped. Like, I can't seem to get it to work on my phone, on my computer, anything. But my Samsung TV, it went straight on.
And the Samsungs were the first to actually start introducing Apple support. So now you have more like integration with your iPhone and your iPads and stuff like that. So AirPlay is a thing that's featured on the newer QLEDs, and then you also have Apple TV Plus, which was first introduced on the Samsung TVs as well. I think now LG has it. I don't think Sony's got any kind of Apple support yet. But I do know that LG has it now because we have it on our LG out there.
Yeah.
But the fact that you can just do AirDrop from your phone to your Samsung TV is really cool, just because they are competitors in the mobile market. So it's cool to see that relationship work out pretty well.
Yeah, but Apple in the mobile market, though, Apple is very dependent on Samsung. They've kind of gotten away from it a lot over time, but for a very long time, Samsung was making all the internal components of the Apple
and their
phones.
Screens.
And their screens.
OLEDs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk that stuff, Matthew. Talk that stuff.
Yeah.
Let them know, Matthew.
Well, I mean, Ty seems to be dropping all the knowledge here. I actually worked for Samsung for several years, so a lot of that is, whenever you ask me, oh, is this good or is Samsung good? I'm going to have a very spirited comeback there, but I just get to step back, and this one just Ty's taking it off. Like,
that's right.
This is nice.
Right.
I sold the TVs for a while, and so you had to do your research.
I was on it, man. That's right. So speaking of Samsung and Apple and all that, Matthew, what's with the 5G thing, man?
Oh, so not the 5G that y'all are thinking about, not the cell phones.
Not the one that causes coronavirus, you mean?
Yeah, not that one. A while back, we talked about on the show DC Comics and kind of where they're standing. There was talks about a big line reboot that was going to age up all of our main heroes and replace them all with younger versions. Luke Fox was going to take over as Batman. We were going to see Jonathan Kent take over as Superman. And this Dan DiDio's firing had a lot to deal with that. And this was something that we talked about previously on the show. I forget which episode. If you know, put a timestamp or something up there so people can go revisit that. It seems like DC's not made any kind of statement about whether that's getting canceled or not, but they haven't made any new updates on it. There hasn't been anything talking about it. And recently in an interview, James Tynion IV, who is the new writer of Batman taking over from Tom King, they were asking him, if he had big plans for, Batman going forward. And he says, oh yeah, plans way past issue 100 and going forward. It's like, interesting. So is this part of 5G, or is this, are you saying now that that's not happening, that your current line is going to keep going? And so a lot of comic book fans are very much in the dark right now about if this major line reboot is still going to happen, or if they're trying to kind of bury it now.
Yeah, interesting. What would you hope for?
Honestly, we've seen with Marvel what happens when you get rid of all the major characters at one time. Like, I've got nothing against legacy characters. Some of my favorite characters are legacy characters. Yeah. Legacy characters meaning like the sidekicks that's grown up or taken on the mantles. But when Marvel kind of replaced all their major characters at about one time with legacy characters, their sales just tanked. Their reviews were horrible. All this stuff was just really, really bad. So for DC to kind of want to do that same idea, like no more
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, no more Clark Kent, no more, it's like, well, these are the characters that people want to read. Now, if you give me still Bruce Wayne and here's Luke Fox in another title as Batman, that's fine. Or if you say, well, Bruce Wayne's not going to be Batman for a little while, here's Luke Fox, that's fine. But if all the characters that I want to read are now gone.
All right. Yeah, if it's not done gradually, then they could have learned that from the Marvel mistake. I feel like maybe do you think that they just aren't watching each other enough? Like, they made that mistake. Let's not
like
do that.
I mean, it seems like that a lot of times, to be honest. It really does.
Well, this has been another episode of the Bing Zang Zoom podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks to our guest, Crystal.
Yes. Shout out to Crystal.
Shout out to Crystal.